going to give everyone a little bit of a headache to begin with. I think we all panicked because it started off as a day one right, didn't it? And it was, how are we going to get past that? Aside from your protected characteristics, because as you're all aware, there are elements and protections in place for individuals that will attract day one rights to claim unfair dismissal in any event. This is still one of the most radical changes to unfair dismissal law in over 50 years. I remember when it was a 1 year qualifying, and that was okay, but it still left employers with quite significant issues. To reduce it to 1 day was an absolute nightmare. So we've now seen since, well, we haven't because we'd left it at 2 years, but the qualifying period is now reduced to 6 months. This is one of the early provision changes. This is being set to come into place on the 1st of January 2027. But the way this act has been moving around organically, we're looking at that date at present. So, key changes. Qualifying period reduced to 6 months. Compensation cap is removed. And there's easy access to tribunals for new starters, obviously because we've got the 6 month limit. This is a really high litigation risk, and as it says at the bottom, the action you need to take, I would say significantly, is look at your probationary period. Probationary periods used to be there to allow you to manage somebody during the initial stages of employment, and because it was a 2 year qualifying period, or prior to that 1 year, probation was there to reduce the notice period, is what I used to use it for. So during your probation period, you will, we reserve the right to give you a week's notice. Now, your probation period needs to be a significant part of the contract. So it's no longer just a thing that you put in place to manage somebody for 6 months, and then their notice period increases. It's now going to be a significant instrument in your management. Therefore, you need to put a probation period in place and make sure that the probation review is carried out. There's no point in having a probation period if it just passes and nobody actually meets with the employee to determine whether they're fit for role. Again, at the beginning, you'll recall that I said we need to look at managers. Managers are managing what they know how to manage. You need to train managers on early performance management. It stands to reason, doesn't it? You can't expect managers just to know what to do. And because of the risk that comes with this, you need to make sure that they have the correct training. At least then you have an argument. Let's leave it at that. You have an argument to say, well, we did everything we could because the manager carried out the probation review. I've also put as an action, document decisions thoroughly from day one. And again, for those of you who know me will know that I'm quite keen on paper trails and looking at development and management of staff from day one anyway. So there is no point in your manager coming back to you after 6 months to say, actually, Joe Bloggs is rubbish. He's been rubbish since day one. I've done absolutely nothing about it. got no records, but I want to sack him. That's not going to, it's not going to wash anymore, is it? Because they will be able to make a claim. It doesn't take you away from dismissing an employee following the correct procedure. You know, just because it's reduced to 6 months, think of your 6 months as we would the 2 years now. If you need to dismiss someone, you can still do so, but you have to follow process because they have the right to make that claim earlier. So basically all it is you've shifted what you would do after 2 years to what you do at 6 months. Yeah, I've put here settlement values are likely to rise. That makes sense, doesn't it? Because there's likely to be a bigger loss flowing from your breach if you dismiss without process. That goes back to also having your disciplinary process clearly set out. And anyone who has, and I'm sure quite a number of you have, anyone who has within their handbook that your disciplinary process doesn't apply for employees with less than 2 years service, obviously we'll need to amend those for you.